Blackbird on the wing, bird of the forest shadows, black rose in the long ago summer. This was your song. It is in time that's passing by, my friend. It is you and I.
I'm delighted to be with India's best-loved English writer. As the English nut, it's a dream come true for me to be able to meet him and talk to him. Thank you so much, Mr. Bond.
Thank you for arranging this little get-together, and I look forward to chatting to you and about books, writing, anything under the sun that's got to do with literature.
Stanley Fanshawe Ukridge is one of the memorable characters created by P.G. Wodehouse, who's one of your favorite authors.
In fact, Ukridge was my favorite Wodehouse character.
You've written about him. So
yes, I might have mentioned it. Yes.
Yeah. Fanshawe, his middle name Fanshawe, is spelt in such a way that you would imagine it's pronounced Featherstone Hall. So I'm going to mispronounce a few place names. And
I'll try. I don't know if I can do it.
The first one is Cholmondeley.
Oh, Cholmondeley. Yeah, well, would you? I've seen it as spelt as Cholmondeley. I don't know.
Chumley. Apparently it's pronounced Chumley.
Huh?
Chumley.
Chumley. Yeah. Okay, I wasn't far off. I was saying Chow Mein.
Chow Mein. Okay. Then there is, there's a college in both Oxford and Cambridge which is mispronounced Magdalen College. So what is the actual pronunciation?
Well, I've often seen it in print.
Yeah.
And I've always myself called it Magdalen College. So what is?
Apparently it's Magdalen.
Magdalen.
Yeah, like
the word maudlin sad.
Yes, like the word maudlin. Then another one is, I've just found these obscure names. There is a place called Oswald Thistle, which is pronounced Ozl Tizzle.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. English is a totally a crazy language. Yeah. I mean, there's so many words also that have the same, different words but the same pronunciation. And words spelled the same but meaning with different meanings. It's not easy language to learn or master if you come to it late in life.
Correct.
English is, I think, best mastered the younger you are.
Right.
Then you get used to all these oddities in a way, which are there. Otherwise, it can be very confusing. It's in my mind at the moment, but I'm thinking of someone who was always mispronouncing words. For instance, I would love to have a glass of champagne with you, Mr. Bond. He will always say instead of champagne. So unless you're using the words regularly, you're inclined to pronounce them as you see them.
Can't blame a person for doing that because... And I think that it's because, for example, champagne has come into English from French.
Yes.
So it probably follows certain rules in French which are not there in English. And
most of our English words come from the French or the Latin, or even, if you go further back, even the Sanskrit.
Correct. Yeah. Proto-Indo-European was
the Indo-European language.
Mother language. So, this same character, Ukridge, had a habit of saying, buck up, old horse, to everyone, including apparently he said
horse, he loved that expression.
He said it to a bishop once who was quite shocked.
When I was in school, I was called horse.
Oh.
Yes, not because of any connections with P.J. Wodehouse, but everyone was given a sort of casual or slang name or a friend name. And I think simply because I had a big appetite like a horse, I was called Horse.
That's perfect, actually. In this Love Among the Chickens, I think, when he refers to the bishop as old horse, of course the man is shocked. So the way it's described in the book is that he was rendered sotto voce with gratification, as Mr. Baboo Jabberjee would have said.
Okay. Baboo Jabberjee was a character created by an author called F. Anstey, who wrote his best-known novel was Vice Versa, in which the father becomes the boy and becomes the father. But he also wrote this book, what's the full name?
This Baboo Jabberjee.
Baboo Jabberjee is the name of the book. And you won't print it nowadays because it's what you would call very politically incorrect and even racist.
Right.
Because he wrote, this was a series of articles he did for Punch, and he put them together in a book. And he makes fun of a young Indian student a law student who's living in England, and the way he talks and his problems with the English language. So it's funny, but it's also now not very pleasant.
Right.
I read it some years back.
Does the term Baboo English come from this character's name?
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
You've mentioned that, I think, after
Yes,
Roman the Roof, you were accused of writing Baboo.
When the Roman the Roof was published in 1956, a critic in a London newspaper said I wrote Baboo English. I think probably he was referring to maybe sometimes a sort of sentence construction which would be more Indian than English, because my vocabulary was always good, and I knew where to put my commas and semicolons. In fact, I think I use semicolons almost as much as Dickens and Thackeray did. Semicolons have gone out of fashion.
Unfortunately, everything is a full stop now.
Yes,
yeah.
The sentences are getting shorter, and whereas the Victorian writers had long sentences and paragraphs, and the semicolon would help to break them up. Yeah. Not so long ago, picked up a copy of the Roman the Roof and read part of it after a gap of many, many years. It had its mistakes, but I've never tried to correct them because it reflects me as I was then, as an adolescent, writing about an adolescent. But I realized that I was obsessed with semicolons. And even today, I don't use so many semicolons. I use them very rarely. Right. But if you look back at the writers of the last century, and the semicolon was used far more than it is today.
Right. There's some limericks which you wrote. I want you to read one of them.
There was an old man in Landor.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. I can
Did you
recite that? That's because it's me.
Yeah.
There was an old man in Landor who wanted young folk to laugh more. So he wrote them a book, and with laughter they shook as they rolled down the hill to Rajpur.
That's right. That's a wonderful.
And Edward Lear, he was the father of the limerick.
Yeah. I wrote a limerick about him. Perhaps you could just read that. It's the last one.
There was a young writer called Lear, whose poetry spread far and near. He made people giggle so much that they'd wriggle and fall down and bruise their rear. He would have liked it, yes. Lear was a very lonely man. He used to stammer, and he used to get epileptic fits. He never married, and most of his later life in Europe, he was looked after by his sort of valet or his servant companion. But he did come to India for a year traveling, I think, and at the invitation of, I think, one of the viceroys or this company. So he did a lot of painting, a lot of his
multi-talented
landscapes are you still see in galleries and exhibitions of that time. He's a good landscape artist, but he's better known for his nonsense verse,
right?
Which is always very good and readable. I was reading a biography of him not long ago. That's why I mentioned his rather unhappy life. Right. Very often it's the unhappy people who write funny books.
Yeah, true.
or fantasy. After all, I don't know if Lewis Carroll was unhappy, but he was a mathematician, and yet he wrote that wonderful fantasy.
Alice in Wonderland, correct?
That's right. It was my first book.
Mr. Bond, thank you very much. It was.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. You made me talk. Normally, I'm a very silent person.
I'm really, really fortunate that you opened up and you were very, very sporting about it.
I am the English nut. Bye for now.
I'm the English nut. Bye for now. I have a special announcement to make for the fans of Ruskin Bond, which is the launch of a new venture called the Ruskin Bond Collections, which consists of signed copies of his books, combinations of different books, books with objects like this lovely stuffed toy.
Timothy the Tiger Cub.
Timothy the Tiger Cub. So you're going to find all this and more if you go to www.ruskinbond.in.